Nicolas Maduro and his wife are in custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York. The 4-count indictment accuses the illegitimate leader of narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, and weapons charges. Attorney General Pam Bondi vows Maduro will face the full weight of our system, echoing President Trump's message earlier today.
The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. There's hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil.
This prosecution will move forward despite criticism from the left or global scrutiny. And former Deputy White House counsel Gene Hamilton joins me now to talk all about it. Gene, welcome to the show. We know that Nicolas Maduro isn't expected Monday in court. So having worked previously for the DOJ, what can you tell us about these charges and what are the next steps towards a conviction?
Well, thanks for having me on. These charges are very serious, significant, detailed charges. We're talking about a 4-count indictment. The sentence for any of these offenses combined would result in at least life in prison, at least one life in prison sentence, if not more, consecutive running life in prison sentences. If you read the indictment, and it's available for any American to go see online, Pam Bondi, I think, tweeted it earlier today, a link to it, you can see laid out in very meticulous detail the allegations against Nicolas Maduro and those associated with him, including his wife, the actions that they engaged in to traffic cocaine into the United States that wrought death and destruction upon countless American families, and in the process supported terrorist organizations like TDA and the FARC and other organizations that are out there that this was all built and designed in a way that was oriented towards their own personal enrichment and their own personal power aggrandizement.
Well, you just alluded to the fact that in addition to Maduro, his wife is also facing prosecution. Do you expect that we could possibly see others indicted as well?
I think so. There's a number of individuals here. These are just the first two who are going to face this arraignment on Monday, and we'll see how that goes. Look, as you alluded to earlier, there's a lot of people who are criticizing the president right now, and they're saying, oh, he's acting without legal authorization. This violates domestic law. This violates international law. And I am here to tell the audience tonight that that is the biggest bunch of garbage you will ever hear. President Trump is acting entirely consistent with domestic law. He's acting entirely consistent with international law to the extent that you believe there is such a thing. We are on solid ground. President Trump is supported by an outstanding team of lawyers from the White House counsel to the Department of Justice, the Department of State, the Department of War, and so forth. There are countless lawyers who provided advice and helped with the operational planning of this particular operation. He is on solid footing. There is ample precedent, and everyone's talked about it throughout the course of today, going back to Panama, of course, in Noriega. There are so many examples of the use of force in these types of instances in the past. Maduro was not the legitimate leader of Venezuela. Maduro was the illegitimate leader of Venezuela, and that makes a significant difference when it comes to the prosecution of him and any kind of alleged immunity that he would have had otherwise.
Yeah, and you know, you walk into the DEA there in Washington, D.C., and they have a huge poster with Maduro's face on it with the $50 million bounty under it. This guy was a criminal. He was wanted for all the crimes we've already talked about. There's no doubt about it. And you just alluded to international law. Listen to what the UN Secretary General's office released in a statement earlier today. They said, quote, "These developments constitute a dangerous precedent. The Secretary General continues to emphasize the importance of full respect by all of international law, including the UN Charter. He's deeply concerned that the rules of international law have not been respected." So, listen, Gene, you just laid it out for us. It's crazy for anyone to claim that the president was outside of his purview here, who potentially he had no right to do this. You have said, without a doubt, you believe not only for U.S. law, but international law, he was well within his rights.
Yeah, 100%. Look, this was a law enforcement operation that was being conducted that DOD assisted with the execution of. So we are pursuing the execution of an indictment, the arrest of an individual who was indicted 5 years ago. This is the tail end of an indictment that started 5 years ago and after decades of criminal activity. So this is a domestically lawful, authorized operation because you have the Department of Justice, the DEA, and others working together, DOD assets supporting their mission to go in and to apprehend this particular individual, Mr. Maduro, and bring him to justice in the United States. Under international law, to the extent, again, that you believe that it is a thing, it protects the rights of states to engage with each other. And so if international law was violated, then you would have to acquiesce to the point that Maduro was the legitimate leader of Venezuela, and he wasn't. Everybody recognizes that. Every nation across the world recognizes that. All the Democratic politicians recognize that. Even the Biden administration said he wasn't the legitimately elected leader of Venezuela. So to hear a lot of criticism today from people who just have TDS is really all it comes down to. They just have TDS. They're upset that Donald Trump has delivered a victory for the Western Hemisphere and for the American people that is going to pay dividends for decades.
That's exactly right. TDS is a serious problem that a lot of people have. It's amazing, Gene, that not everybody is celebrating this. This guy was such a bad guy, Nicolas Maduro. He caused so much destruction, so much death. He was a plague on his own people. He was a plague on the United States of America. And obviously, we are so grateful that our U.S. Special Forces went in, executed a flawless takedown of this guy, his wife, and they will ultimately be brought to justice. So you are so great for joining us tonight and breaking down all of the legalese here. So thank you so much, Gene Hamilton, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.